Good morning. It's Wednesday. I'm Wayne. Welcome to Wednesdays with Wayne. This week the past few weeks, we've gone over this skills for success. And as I said in the beginning, I studied successful people for years because I know that there's a saying called success leaves clues. And so you can see behind me a few books. So I read about successful people. I study successful people because I very much want to be successful. And once I achieved a level of success, I realized it's kind of like real estate. It gets in your blood. You just want more, 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 more. So you got to keep feeding the hound, right? So there's never enough. So now I'm on this quest now to just be better every day. I just want to get better mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and financially. No, it's not just about money. I know a lot of people measure their success by the number of zeros in the bank account. And if you don't have enough money, I get that getting money is a measure. But after you have enough money, then you have more than enough money. Then you have more than enough money you'd ever thought you'd have. You realize that there's more to life than just making money. So how can we develop ourselves? So this is just my personal journey is I want to be physically more fit. I went and hired a doctor. The doctor that I hired doesn't fix sick people. He keeps you from getting sick. I thought, that's my guy. And he says to me, health starts in the kitchen. And you probably heard the saying, you are what you eat. Um, anyway, I went in there and he took 30 vials of blood and then created all these biomarkers and measured all my statistics. And I just like data. Um, and we're going to go into some this morning. So now I have a doctor who doesn't treat me sick. He keeps me from getting sick. And he said that when you go to the hospital, the first thing that happens is your muscles start to deteriorate. So if you want to stay healthy or increase your odds of fighting disease, build muscle. So I've been on this regimen of losing fat and adding muscle. Anyway, it goes on and on and on. I won't bore you with it. But the point is, I keep working on myself, not just financially, because I do want to make more money tomorrow than I did today. There's no question about that. I also want to be around to enjoy it. So I'm working myself physically. But I don't want to be by myself, so I've got to do the emotional part, right? Otherwise, then I'll leave. I told you not to say that. I said it anyway. So, you want to be with your significant other to enjoy the fruits of all your labors because, you see me, you don't see Lynn. But hopefully, when you see me, you see both of us. Because, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but as you well know, there's always one or a group of people behind the person that you see. So I want to be around to enjoy her, enjoy our life together, and my kids, and my parents, and my brothers and sisters, and my family. So if you're a jackass, no one's going to want to be around you. So you can't be an emotional jerk and expect to have friends. Anyway, then there's a spiritual aspect to me, and then it's all of it: mental, physical, spiritual, financial, and physical. So anyway, thank you. So that's it. It's about developing the skills and learning from other people how to do that. So I study nutritionists, I study bodybuilders, I study gurus and omers. How do you do that? Because I just want to get better. So this series has been about how to get better. And the way I get better is practice. You get a coach and practice. And lately, I've been working on my golf swing, and I have a coach, and it takes a lot of practice and a lot of playing, but I'm enjoying it. So I'll start by thanking you for your time. I do that because a long time ago, a dear friend of mine said the most valuable thing anyone can give you is their time. So how many consider your time valuable? Okay, thank you. How many don't like it when people waste your time? Okay, good. So you have my commitment. I'll do my best to make sure the time we're together that your time is well spent. So thank you for showing up. I know you probably have other things you could be doing right now, but I'll do my best. Um, Again, I made notes so I can stay focused and on track about what I want to cover today. And this has been an observation that I made. And all I'm doing mainly is reporting to you observations I've made. This is just the world through my eyes. So you may have a different point of view. And if you do, that's great. You're free to express it. Since I can't hear you, go ahead. Shout to the phone. But seriously, your comments, your feedback, suggestions are welcome. And because I want to be better, and the only way I can get better is if I hear you got to be. If you want to hear the praise, you got to hear the criticism, right? So I'm happy to hear what suggestions or comments you may have, good, bad, or um, typically not indifferent, but whatever you have to say. Um, Today is going to be about what to do or not to do. There's things we can learn by studying people, right? I mean, some people are great demonstrations about what not to do. I've heard some things on stage and I'm like, "Ooh, I'm never going to say that in public." And you look at the speaker, you hear what they said. You look at the crowd, you see their reaction. You're like, not saying that. You know what I'm talking about, right? Every now and then, someone lays an egg. Like, wow, where'd that come from? You were doing good till you spoke. So there's some things we need to stop doing, and there's some things we need to start doing. And the first session, I covered this topic of focus. So today is about one of the enemies to success, the what I call them barriers or impediments to progress. And I see people wearing these all the time, and they seem to do it fairly effortlessly, but clearly they just struggle. So today is about an enemy, and here's one of the biggest enemies I found most people have is this enemy right here. Confusion. Confusion is the enemy of marketing. You want to slow or retard your sales? Create a confusing marketing campaign. Have a picture or a font or a message no one can read. That's amazing. I see this stuff all the time. But I saw this billboard the other day. I couldn't even read it. Why did they use red on a dark background? It doesn't stand out. Because there's a reason that school buses are painted yellow and black. It's right. You know the reason, right? Yeah. So why anybody would use red letters and with a dark background, it just disappears. You can't even see red in the dark. Anyway, confusion is the enemy of marketing. It's the enemy of business. It's the enemy of progress. Many companies cannot articulate what they do, how they do it, why they do it that way, and the benefit to their target market. And they wonder why sales are lackluster. Probably experienced this yourself. Like, what do they do? How do they make money? How's that guy make money? How's that business make money? And many people don't know what business they're in. So you've got to ask yourself this series of questions, what business are you in? Truly, what business are you in? What's the product? Who's the customer? Who's the competition? What's the message? And this is the greatest story I think I've ever heard is Ray Kroc. As you know, Ray Kroc founded McDonald's. Actually, he bought it from the McDonald's brothers. But he knew that the business he was in had nothing to do with hamburgers. Ray Kroc realized he was in the real estate business, so he acquired the ideal corners across America, now in other countries. And he realized that he was in the real estate business, not the hamburger business. The burgers were simply the vehicle he used to pay for the land. The land is what adds value to the company. And then he realized that his competition wasn't the other hamburger joints. It was every other opportunity that entrepreneurs were looking for when they were looking for a business to get into. And so it wasn't Wendy's, Burger King, Whataburger, blah, blah, blah. It was every other business. And so that's why he created this franchise model. And it was a turnkey operation. He said, look, here is the business. He created a business school for his franchisees. He called it the University of Hamburgerology. And he went in and he trained them on, and he wrote a system which he bought from McDonald's Brothers, was a systematic approach. He said, we'll teach you the systems. You run the systems run the business. I'm going to franchise it to you. You say you change one thing, I'll take it back. Because they knew that consistency was what the customers were looking for. Every burger had to taste the same, no matter what location the hamburger eater arrived at. Anyway, that's the story. So he was very clear on these questions. What business are you in? Who's the customer? What's the product? Who's the competition? What's the message? That's how he grew it. So that's how he grew it. So I'm going to ask you to get rid of this by asking yourself those questions. If you're a business owner, what business are you in? If you're in residential real estate, by now, hopefully you figured out it's got nothing to do with houses. Residential real estate has nothing to do with houses. There's always confusion around this house, that house. It's not about the house. If it was about the house, there'd only be one floor plan. So the reason there's all these different styles and models is because it's not about the house. Okay, glad we cleared that up. And so you got to know what business you're in. So the enemy of marketing, business, progress is confusion. Hopefully today, by the end of this session, hopefully this will end. So what else causes confusion? Here's one of the many sayings that I have. And this is it. The opposite of confusion is this. And I just want to be as clear as I can be. I consider my words carefully before I say them. You can tell some people, you can tell what they're thinking because they don't filter it. It's not censored. It's a think, it becomes a thought. It's almost automatic. Thought speak. Idea talk. I'm like, you should censor that. Put a filter in there, bro. But there's an old saying, and those of you who have been around me have seen this many times. But the saying is this. So what's the definition of the word power? So if you want to end this, get clear on words. Learn words and definitions. So what is power? Power is the ability to do. I found that the clearer I am, the more power I have. That my ability to do goes up, the clearer I get. When I'm in this state, my progress goes to zero. I'm like, what? Huh? Tell me that again. Explain that to me. What? Go slow. What? So as soon as I get here, I go here. I can get things done when I'm clear. When I'm confused, I'm like, what? Like I'm redoing a site right now, right? We're redoing our website. And my IT guy, really good guy. Oh, he's so smart. He goes, your site's dated. We just redid it. He goes, your site's dated. We just redid it. Your site's dated. Okay. Specifically. So he's telling me my site's not functioning. I get confused. I'm looking for this so I can get it done. You just tell me what it is. I said, okay, what specifically is wrong with the site? This. Okay, got it. Now I'm what? Exactly. So now I can go get it done. As soon as this is over, As soon as the session's over, that site is going to get worked on. So it's going to release the power. So hopefully, I'm going to do my best to explain how to lose the confusion. There's some steps to this that I go through. And the other thing that I have is this. Where's your power? Where is your power? Where? Where's the power? It's right here, right? And when? Now. It's called be here now, right? So part of it is being here. Your power's in the present. Now, what does this mean? I'll give you an example. How many of you ever been talking to someone and suddenly you realized, like, say, they asked you how you were doing, and you thought they meant it? Yeah. Okay, that was unfiltered. They said, so how you doing? And you're like, hey, let's talk about me. My favorite subject. And suddenly you look up and you realize they're not present. I mean, their body's there, right? But they're gone. They get that far away look in their eye. So it's right here, right now. And so with all these distractions, right? I don't know what your day is like, but mine is chock full. There's so much stuff coming in. Like, okay, turn that off. Turn that off. Turn that. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, look at this. I got three screens over here. They're all on. I got a phone over there. I got a phone over there. I got a TV over here. On any given Sunday, they're all on. So it's time to focus. This, I'm watching CNBC during the day to watch the markets. I go, what's the economy doing? Should I keep investing or should I back up the truck to the bank? So I'm just looking for more and more information because I'm looking to see what patterns and trends are doing. I want to know what the real smart and what the institutional investors and what the intelligentsia of the economic world are doing, so I can figure out what I should do. So all this stuff is on. So here's what I've discovered. What causes confusion and how do I eliminate it? You see me okay? I hope you can. How's that? First of all, the speech. A lot of people, when they talk to me, how many of you have had someone that you were fairly clear and they spoke to you, then you got confused? Anybody? Okay, thank you. So what I've noticed over the years is that a lot of people's speech patterns, they're filled with vague, ambiguous, non-descriptive words and phrases that don't mean anything and don't come to a conclusion. And so I feel myself oftentimes playing the role of Columbo. Like I'm trying to figure out what, what? What does that even mean? It's just a bunch of emotional gobbledygook. So what happens is, probably seen this too. What happens when emotion goes up? Something's got to come down, right? Well, what comes down? When emotion goes up, what comes down? That's it. If you don't believe me, go to your nearest or favorite bar at closing time, and you'll see this working itself out. There'll be some very emotional people in there making some very stupid decisions. So when you're in business or you're investing, where do you want to make decisions from? Here or here? Well, here, obviously. That was rhetorical. I know you know that. So how do you do this? How do you stay here? Well, you get left-brained about it. If you're right-brained, you'll lose this. Stats put you in left brain, the analytical part of your brain that shows you how to interpret data. Some people struggle with the left side. They just don't have it. They haven't figured out how to cultivate it to where that's their ally instead of their enemy. So that's one. So it's facts, figures, statistics, and then understanding definitions. So when I get confused, this is what I do. The first thing is I look to see if this is true, if what they're saying is true. Because a lie can contribute. So sloppy speech contributes to confusion. Lies contribute to confusion. Misunderstandings contribute to confusion. There are random activities contribute to confusion. For example, if I'm responding to a fairly important email and another one equally important, and I've got it popped out and it's on one screen, another one pops in on the other screen, and it's equally important and related to the first one, and then I get a text and or a call and someone saying something important on CNBC, I get confused. So there's too many things going on. So when you have this state of confusion with too many things going on, just start closing them down and go find one and isolate it. You have to get rid of all the randomity. It's when these multiple random occurrences going on around you, oftentimes will create a state of confusion. Just start shutting down. So this goes off, and then the phone goes on silent. I turn it off, put it away. I ignore that email. I go back to what I was doing on the first one. You focus on one thing. And then the question is what you're saying a fact? So what is the definition of fact? What is a fact? There's a reason I'm going through this. So the reason is, what's a fact? A fact is something that can be proven to exist via physical evidence. For example, this is a black Pilot Supercolor marker. That's a fact. There it is. This is a flip chart pad. There it is. This is a flip chart stand, metal, obviously. This is my handout for today. My shirt's black and white. These are facts. So the first thing I want to start with is what I'm hearing or reading a fact? Because if it's not, it's going to create some confusion. The second thing is, maybe it's not a fact. Maybe it's just someone's opinion. Well, what's an opinion? Opinion is something that may or may not be true. Are we all entitled to our opinions? Absolutely. Well, not so much anymore, really. Absolutely, we're not. We're not, and that's a fact. It depends on who you speak them to. Because if you speak your opinion to the wrong person, then you may get some backlash. Shut up for trying to tell you something. Put on your mask. Get 6 feet away from me. Get a vaccine. Huh? Vaccines don't guarantee. Yeah, they do. So if you look at this whole COVID debacle, there's been a few facts and a lot of opinions, and there's still a lot of this about the long-term effects. It's a classic example of all this confusion around COVID. So, yes, let's say it was back in the day when we had free speech. Yeah, you're entitled to your own opinion. Uh, are they all always true? No, they're opinions, not facts. Something then can be proven to exist via physical evidence versus something that may or may not be true. How many of you have ever had someone present their opinions to you as though they were facts? Okay, thank you. Me too. So when you hear something coming at you, to me, it's important to make the distinction. Is that a fact or an opinion? I wouldn't say I wouldn't say true, false. Because you can't say it's false. It's true for them. They're entitled to their opinion. It may not be factual, but I might they're free to say it, free to think it. Let's keep that freedom. They're free to think and say whatever they want. But if you're in business or you're in a transaction or you're in an investment or about to be, in my opinion, it's important to understand the difference between the two. For example, buy that stock. It's bound to go up. Ooh, good idea. Really? How do you know? Now's a great time to be investing in real estate. Really? Why? I thought rates were high. Yeah, but telemarketer. These guys are bad news. That's a fact. If you can't tell the difference, you have what I call a sloppy mind. If your mind is sloppy, you're prone to mistakes. You with me so far? So, what do? You focus on one thing, stick to the facts, substantiate them. If you don't know the difference between this and this, you got a big problem because you're going to stay here instead of here, and this won't go away. If you can't tell the difference between a fact and an opinion, you're going to continue to be in this state. So here's one of my methods to get out of this state and stay clear. First of all, I use facts and I use statistics. For example, and here's the question that I use. Like when someone makes a statement or says something to me that's vague and ambiguous, I just ask him, well, like I did with my IT guy on my site. He goes, your site's dated. I go, what specifically is dated about it? Well, and he tells me. I said, well, how specifically do you suggest we fix it? Specifically, not these vague, ambiguous, well, you could do it differently. It's not like some others. It needs to be improved. It needs to be enhanced. It needs to be updated. I have no freaking idea what that means. Those are interpretive words that I'm sure mean something to others, but they mean different things to me. So, which is it? I mean, I don't know. So, I do my best to state out these descriptive adjectives and stick to facts. What specifically needs to be done? How specifically do you expect us to do it? What would it look like when it's finished? What's the finished product going to look like? What's it going to feel like? What's it going to do? What's the purpose? Why are we doing this? So I become a detective and I want to get all these answers. What are the key performance indicators? How will we know if it works? You're going to spend all this time and all this money. And if you own a business, then to me, one of the responsibilities of a business owner is to be good stewards of the company's resources. That's time, energy, money. Next thing you know, you end up in Abilene, right? If you're not careful, you end up in Abilene. If you haven't If you haven't read Abilene Paradox, you got to get it and read it. Here it is right here. If you're a business owner or you want to be, please read this book. It's one of the best I've ever read. And what you don't want to do is end up in Abilene like these characters. You'll be in Abilene Paradox. You'll hate your day. And so that's it to me. It's just being good stewards of your people. You got to be a leader. You got to show leadership. So you can't have people running around spending time, money, energy on fruitless activities that don't produce income or get a result. So to me, it requires this laser focus. What specifically are we doing it and why? How specific are we going to do it and who? What's the deadline? What's the result we're looking for? How will we know when we have it? What do you want? What do we want to do? And how will we know when we've succeeded? And once we ask those questions about specifically what we're going to do, when we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, who's going to do it, then we can put a plan together. Like execution is not my issue. I don't mean killing. I mean completing tasks. it's not it's not an issue, you know. It's not. The issue typically for me is getting out of this state and getting into this state. Having clear, specific guidelines, instructions, expectations. How many of you ever uttered these words? I thought you said. You get me, right? So this is one of my sayings that I've developed from my observations. Here it is. And I'll leave you with this, and please write this down because you're going to need it. You've needed it in the past. You need it today. You're going to need it in the future. I'm just messing with you. But here it is. If you don't give someone, so you can't just tell people what you want done. You can't just go around telling people what you want. Or you can, but it creates negative responses. Sometimes they're nonverbal. And what I don't want is nonverbal negative responses. I just want to make sure everybody's on the same page and pulling in the same direction. So here's my saying. If you don't give someone your expectations and get agreement, they'll be met, right? You can't just tell them. Like when I was pricing real estate, it happened all the time. See, sellers are always what Alan Greenspan would call suffered from emotional overexuberance or over emotional exuberance, whatever it was. It was people get excited about the stock market, irrational exuberance, whatever the phrase was. But you get my point, right? And so expectations typically, and most people have a movie in their head. If I do all this, here's what'll happen. And then they get to the end, and the movie has an unhappy ending. This is what creates upset, right? Reality and expectations meet, and they're not identical. They collide. That wasn't what I was expecting. I thought you said. That's not what I want. I thought you said. If you don't give someone, so I go into these sellers, and they're always exuberant. They're always happy. They're going to sell the house and make all this money. And so they overprice it. It drags on and on and on. Eventually, they start hating me, their lives, buyers, the mailbox. And ultimately, sell it for less than it's actually worth because they're sick of the whole process. So I've learned over the years, right? Homes that are priced at market sell faster for more money than homes that are overpriced to allow for negotiation. You want to get rid of the negotiation process, trick it out and price it right. We'll just allow for a negotiation. Oh my God, not another one. Even though I disagreed with them about the price, I took the listing. As soon as I took it, I agreed with them, right? In principle, I did because I took it. So it took me a while to figure this one out. So what I did was, if the market's trending up, there's really no problem with taking the listing at 5 or 10% over market as long as you get a 180-day listing, because in 30, 40, 50, 60, 80, 200 day market, the 100 days the market will catch it. But if it's trending down and it's overpriced, there's a tendency to just chase the market down. You never quite catch it. And so the goal is to figure out how to be clear and specific and educational, which is the business that you're in most of the time. You're in the education business. Your business should have a degree or a component of education to it. There's so many products and so many consumers and so many questions about why should I buy that? What's in it for me? Why should I give you my money? What does your product do for me? That it requires a level of education to teach people about what makes you better, different, the logical choice, the obvious consideration. So if we don't give them, and what I would do was I would take, then finally I learned how to get it priced right. What words do I choose from the English language, and what order do I put them in order to carry my points? And this is what I learned. If you don't give someone your expectations and get agreement they'll be met, they got to agree with you. Would you agree with me that overpricing the property is foolish? And I'll tell you why. And you tell them why. Yes, I agree that that would be foolish. Okay, great. Now we have an agreement. Now the expectation is I'll get it sold timely. So if you don't give someone your expectations and get agreement they'll be met, you're responsible for any upset you experience. And you write that down because you've used it and you're going to be using it in the future. So give people your expectations. And the way I corrected that was when I sat down with my clients, I said, I'd like to know what your expectations are for the transaction. And if I can meet them, I'll tell you. If I can't, I'll tell you right now. Because I want to meet them. And I'm going to ask you the same questions. The question is, what are your expectations from me? And I want to know so I can meet them. Does that fit for you? I mean, does that get us off on the right foot? How do you feel about my approach about telling each other what our expectations are so that we can meet them? Is that okay with you? And they would say yes. And I'd say, great. What are your expectations from me? What's your time frame for moving? Do you have a price in mind, and where did you get it? Is it an appraisal? Is it the neighbor's asking price that they're hoping for? I mean, where'd that come from? And so now we can have a conversation about specifics, about facts, figures, market analysis, sales prices, what they actually sold for, not what the neighbor bragged about what they sold for. And we can come to an agreement, and then we get clear. Now we have power. We have the ability to go get the thing done without about a bunch of emotional confusion and cost expectations. Got it? Okay. Hope that makes sense. This has been Wednesdays with Wayne, brought to you by our favorite sponsor, the Real Estate Business School, where you get your license and learn to use it. This is the learn to use it part. Hope that was helpful. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it as always. I'll see you next week. Remember, real estate's a business. If you don't treat it like a business and run it like a business, you're going to be out of business. So go mind your own business. I'll see you next week. Thanks.